Hello, good afternoon. Thank you again for being with us. This has been our 10th event, which is great. Thank you so much for sharing with us your time. Hey, Jason, it's good to see you. Well, today we have a special event because we're going to be speaking about the new Humanitarian Aid Law, which it is under a lot of conversations at the Assembly of Ecuador. In the past few days, a lot has been saying about the 2% extra property tax or any other labor measurements that they were going to take to change the regulations. So for that, we have two special panelists with us. One is 𝐸𝐿𝐸𝐿𝐸. He's an economist. He's a professor at the ULEAM. It is a university here in Manabí. Well, some people, you probably know that I'm in Manta right now. And our second guest, it is Camila Lanús. She's a representative for Uribe 𝐍𝐸𝐻𝐿𝐸 for institutional projects. Camila is here with us to share their perspective. Uribe 𝐍𝐸𝐻𝐿𝐸, it is one of the largest construction companies here in Ecuador, over 200 projects, all of them deliver, and they have more projects coming. They're based in Quito. You probably have, when you have gone to Quito, you have seen those new modern buildings. Well, they build those, most of them. So we're going to have their perspective from them. It is very important to have an idea of what is their plan about what is coming with this new law. So for now, I'm going to make a quick presentation, a summary of what has happened on the second debate of the Humanitarian Aid Law. Romina, if you can start with the presentation. So I just have summarized some of the important topics in this law, which is, I have to clarify, it is not approved yet. How the approvals of the law process in Ecuador, how it works in this very specific case, it is that the president sends this law to the Assembly. The Assembly will have two sessions where they're going to be debating about this law. On the first debate, they draft a project, they make some changes, and right now there is a second debate coming, which is in charge of the a special commission. So the second debate will be tomorrow, and we will see what is the outcome on that. But based on what it is right now, and from our experience, these are the most important topics. So please, let's continue with this. And remember, I have 10 minutes, Romina. I would like to cover this very, very quickly. So in this law, we will have 4 main points: the solidarity contributed special regime, the solidarity measurements for well-being regime, and how to bolster the economy, employment support reforms. So for the solidarity contributions, a lot has been saying if this is a new tax or not. They're handling this as a special contribution, like something that the people who has more money will have to be contributing to the system. But how I see it is like a new tax. So the first one, so if you can continue, Romina, let's keep moving. So we have a personal contribution. We have a personal contribution that is based on a table where there is a minimum income. The original law, we had it signed by the president. It says that everyone who were making more money than $500, and I think it was $500 or $650, they will have to make payments as contribution on to the Ecuadorians, and they will be redirecting these funds to loans or giving food for the families that they don't have access to incomes. So this was changed, and now the minimum on the next slide, we will see what is the minimum right now. And also we have, well, thank you. So the minimum right now is $2,500. If your net income is between 25 to 3,500, your basic payment will be $137. So I know most of our expat community, they will not be paying this, because most of you are receiving Social Security incomes, and one part of the law says no matter where your income is coming, you still will have to pay, but Social Security incomes, it is out of this. So don't worry about this, but it is important you know where is the purpose of the law going and who are going to be affected, because in the future we probably will see some protests about this. But as you can see, if the law it is approved as it is right now, only the people who is making more than $2,500, they are going to be paying $137 a month, and this is going to be paid for 9 months. So the other companies, the other people who will have to pay this, it is 5% extra for all the companies making above $2.5 million as net income. So this is like large companies in Ecuador. It's not like the small mechanic and or the auto service that you take your cars. So let's continue with the next one, Romino. So what is for the people? What is those measures for well-being for the people? So these are the articles, and this is supposed to be beneficial for everyone. So let's continue with the next. So for tuition and education fees, no one can be denied education or taking exams if you haven't paid your tuition fees. Something else about the eviction rules. Eviction rules, if someone is renting a property, that person cannot be evicted under the emergency or 60 days after the emergency finished. There's some restrictions that you will have to pay 30%. You will have to pay 20% of the rent, and as long as your 30% of your income was affected. Utilities fees, they cannot increase for 6 months. But this is very important. 6 months is starting since March 16. So since March 16 to September 16, all the utilities of basic service, how it's called in Ecuador, cannot be increased. And also here is something very important, 10% of reduction of electric bills. This reduction only goes for people who are under poverty or extreme poverty. So I know, but this is on the law right now. We will see what is the outcome at the end. So let's continue with the next one, please. So private health insurance, if a person during the pandemic, your contract finished, the private health insurance will still have to provide you will still be covered. And if you stop paying, if you don't have the funds to keep paying the health insurance, because there are some people in Ecuador that they pay monthly during the pandemic, you will still be covered. For the ISS insurance, the same. I know some of you have the voluntarily payment to the ISS. So in that case, if you stop paying, you still will have coverage for 60 more days after your last payment. one of the other measures for this is small loans for business. Interest rates, they will be reviewed, but we still don't know how much they will be decreased, those interest rates. Let's continue. Loan payments for if an Ecuadorian has a credit card payment, so it will have a special treatment for all the loans after the law is approved. And something that I have seen on social media, some questions, it is that what is going to happen with the annual car registration fees. So for now, 10 days after the law is approved, the transit agency of Ecuador will come with a new schedule to get the car registration and how much those fees will be. Probably they will not change, but they will have a new schedule after the emergency ends. So, and also this is very important. The government is trying to regulate the cost of living of Ecuador. So we will see what is the outcome on that, because what I was reading, it is that they want to, the cost of living, they want to have it lower down to, 20% less expensive, but we will see what is the real outcome on that. So to bolster the economy, this law, what is seeking is, let's go to the next one. Okay, they're trying to promote loans. They're going to be giving loans to the agriculture and livestock business. And also for those business that they were affected by COVID-19, we still don't know how they are going to measure, how they're going to be giving those loans to those people. And this is something very, very important. Ecuador, it is, the bureaucracy in Ecuador, as you probably know, it is very, very heavy. So one of the changes that we're going to be facing, it is the some services, especially the notary service, they're going to be changed. They're going to be updated to online notary service. So we will see how this is going to work. What I can see, and I have this conversation with one of my colleagues at EQUASYS last night, what I can see, it is that probably power of attorneys, affidavits, probably real estate contracts, but we still have to see, because remember, in other parts of the country, I'm not speaking about Quito or Manta or Guayaquil, but other parts of the country, the register of properties to issue a title search still is not updated with the new technology. So we will see how this will end up. So let's continue with the next one. So, and the last, well, not the last part, but one of the important parts is to keep the employment. What is the government going to do with this new law to keep the employment? Of course, we will have to remember that employment has been affected because a lot of companies, a lot of employers, they don't have any income. So if they don't have any incomes, they don't have money to pay their employees. So the measures that this new law are seeking to save those, the employment in Ecuador, with the next slide, please, Romina. It is the employment protection. The employment protection, the Ecuador is seeking to have agreements between employees and employers, and they will have some those agreements where they're going to be speaking about, okay, if we were working before 8 hours, so right now we're going to be working 6 hours. So some agreements we're going to be seeing in this very particular case. New labor contracts due to COVID-19. So what I was reading, and this is my best understanding, speaking as an attorney, it is that the first year with these new labor contracts, the first year can be renewed to a second year. Under the current law, it is that we have 1 year contract and then this contract, it becomes indefinite, which means that it lasts, well, not forever, but it lasts until the termination, legal termination of the contract. With this new labor contract, it is that first year, you can renew it. And we have to keep in mind that the trial period, 90 days, is not changing. So let's see how this ends. Some labor hours reduction, it is that we will have to adapt. So how many hours the business are going to be working. So the proportional hours are going to be paid for the ISS. And also the vacations regime, it is like employers, they can how currently is, the employees, they can make a planification, they accumulate their vacations. But with the new changes on the law, it is like, if I have employees, I can tell them when they can take their vacations, even if they have some vacations accumulated. So first major, this is a big change right now. And I want to make a quick stop here because during the last few days, a lot of business, they have been terminating their employees with the first major, well, cost. I was going to say excuse, but it's a cost, legal cost. So it means that you can terminate a contract, and you, as an employer, you don't have to pay some compensations. But the law, it is trying to correct that. And if you are going to finish by a contract by force majeure, that means that the next consequence for an employer, and the next consequence for that, it is that the employer will have to shut down the business. So let's see how this ends as well. And telecommuting contracts, this is very, very new, and there's some regulations about it, the hours and how the work is going to be performed. And I'm taking right now 15 minutes, and I would like to continue a little bit more fast. So let's go to the next slide. So, well, seems like that's the end. And well, I would like to continue with Camila. Camila, could you please, from your perspective, very respectable company in Ecuador in the construction business, what is your view? What is the company's view for this COVID-19? Please share your ideas with us. Give me 1 second because your microphone is mute. Okay, now it is on.
Okay, thank you very much, Marcos. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Well, how we're seeing like the situation right now. One of the first questions that EQUASYST sent me when we were talking about participating on this panel was which we think or we believe that are the risks for the real estate sector related to the Humanitarian Aid Law. And well, what we've seen is that the risk of economic contraction is already there, independent of the Humanitarian Aid Law. The paralyzation of the activities generated by COVID-19 have created many losses, have generated many losses, and the longer this paralysis continues, the greater the contraction. So that is a fact, and now we have to navigate within that situation, and we are willing to navigate in the best way through that situation. For us, it is very important to see a gradual reactivation of different industries and sectors. The construction sector has been the first sector to reactivate, and this is the first sector to reactivate that is not considered an essential business or an essential service. So this has been very important for us. We start our works in some of our projects on May 27. I will later talk about our experience on that. It is still very difficult to foresee the impact of the crisis in the construction industry. It will depend on how things evolve, and the scenarios, as you know, are still very uncertain. However, we are sure that the construction industry will also be one of the first sectors to start growing again and one of the main engines for the productive reactivation of Ecuador. The construction sector, or the construction industry, the real estate industry are key players in the economy of the country. For example, including both public works, infrastructure works, and real estate development, the construction sector represents 8% of the GDP, of the national GDP. It creates almost 500,000 direct jobs each year, of which more than 300,000 jobs are related to real estate development, so it's very important. Additionally, construction generates like more than 2 million indirect jobs that are part of its value chain, of all the different businesses and industries that are the suppliers of the constructions. So it is a key sector, and the reactivation of this sector is crucial for the health of the economy. Now, when we start talking about the impacts of the law, well, we see some positive and also some not so positive things regarding the law. One of the positive topics that we have seen that it's in the draft for the second debate of the law is the implementation of mechanisms, that it's mandatory implementation of mechanisms for the use of digital firm and digital contracts, both for individuals and companies. So this is very important because today Ecuador has a framework, a legal framework that allows the use of the digital firm and digital contracts, but it hasn't been used broadly. So now is the opportunity to put it into effect. And this will speed up the property transfers, the sales, and all the different procedures that have to do with acquiring a property or acquiring a home. The draft, the current draft for the second debate establishes that the public sector entities implement mechanisms that allow the digital certification of acts and contracts and facilitate the use of electronic signatures and authorized certifications. Today, a property transfer due to different bureaucratic procedures can take between 60 and 90 days. So facilitating this kind of procedures and contracts will foster the housing sector, will help to foster the industry, and will minimize a lot of costs associated to bureaucratic procedures, both for the public sector and both for the private sector. Because as you know, I mean, when you build, you have to get a debt in order to build. And the longer the time passes in bureaucratic procedures, you start to lose the value of that money. So this is very important. It will also improve the flow of money within the sector and also within all its value chain and suppliers. So if this is finally included and approved in the law, this is good news for the real estate sector, especially for the real estate sector in the construction industry. Just to give you an example, I mean, this is so important because in the case of those constructions or houses that conclude in January, February, and March of this year, before March 16, these houses or these properties were not able to be transferred to its current owners because everything was shut down. The registry of municipal services didn't have the capacity to work through these kind of digital mechanisms. So it is time to jump to the digital transformation. Both the private and the public sector have to get involved into the digital transformation and make the most of this. I mean, this crisis may also be an opportunity to start being more efficient. So this is good. Then we have this point that you already touched, the eviction rules. Well, we believe that the best way to solve current problems related to tenancy is the freedom to achieve agreements between the tenant and the owner of the property. Although the law project talks about the need of reaching these agreements, it also establishes a 20% minimum payment and a period of grace in which the tenant cannot leave the home. No, so we know that it's important to protect the tenant because the situation is hard, but we don't believe that it's necessary this a good answer to the circumstances. We believe that, and we are sure that the parties will be willing to reach an agreement independent of the law, and an agreement that is fair enough for both. I'm not sure if 20% will be fair enough for both parties. So, but right now, you know, as an owner of a property, you're aware that finding a new tenant under current circumstances won't be easy. It may be hard. So I believe, and we believe, and for what we have seen, the owners of properties are willing to reach agreements, but we believe that the best way that these agreements can come out and be healthy agreements is giving them the liberty to reach these agreements without need to regulating the conditions within the law. Then the other point that it's interesting, maybe a good starting point for some things that the labor sector in Ecuador has been needing for long is the labor reforms. In the case of the construction industry, the rules that regulate the labor relations with the workforce at the construction sites is currently different from the ordinary regulations that usually regulate these labor relations. So because in the construction, because of the nature of the different projects, you have different phases. So at some point you will need more people, and at some point you will need less people. And a building is end within 24 or 36 months. The building is finished and delivered to its owners. So in the construction sector, we already have a somehow flexible system that includes fixed-term contracts for specific works. So that's how mostly the construction sector works. Of course, in the central offices, you have like the regular labor contracts. We believe that not only for the construction sector, but for the economy and other business, the new law opens a door to keep employments, to save employments. The idea of reaching agreements or making it easier to reach agreements between an employee and an employer is positive for the purpose to keep the jobs for people. I mean, right now we need people. I mean, we need to keep the jobs, because if not, the economic contraction will be even deeper. So this is a good way of doing it. It may be hard at the beginning, but it's the only way in which the different businesses can survive. So the rules of the game are still unclear in order to enforce these kind of agreements. Once the law is approved, as Marcos already mentioned, these kind of agreements will have to be regulated by a bylaw that give us a clear path about how to do it. Regarding these new reforms, the law also establishes the figure of the special emerging contract that Marcos already explained a lot about it. Well, I believe it is beneficial because it will it creates an opportunity for industries to be able to respond efficiently and quickly in difficult times for the organizations. So it's not what we have been used, but I believe it is a new starting point to work for a more flexible scheme of labor regulations in Ecuador. So hopefully it will be that. So that about the law, about how we see the contraction right now. And the second point that I would like to touch, or third point, is which are our plans for the development during the next years or during the next weeks. Well, as I mentioned before, on April 27th, the construction and the real estate industries were approved to reactivate some of their projects. 30 projects were approved for the first week, then it increased to 100, and now there are many others projects, construction projects, working right now. This is part of a pilot plan and is one of the first steps that has been taken by the government for the reactivation of non-essential business. So the responsibility that we believe we have on our shoulders is great because we have been working for this to be a success, to be very successful. And we believe that the pilot plan has yielded optimal results and has allowed hundreds of households that depend on this sector to start earning an income. So this is very important. Uribe Schwarzkopf started with the ICON project. It's a project located in the Carolina Park area for those who know Quito. It will be the tallest building in Quito, a 32-story building, with great amenities, a green building, eco-efficient building. So it also brings a lot of innovation to the city. And today, after 3 weeks, 6 more of our projects have been reactivated, following strict parameters of industrial safety and biosafety. These projects are unique, also in the Carolina sector, Aquarela in the Cumbaya Valley, Corner, also in the La Carolina sector, EPIC, that is across the street of one of the main stations of the new metro of Quito, the Carolina station. So a key located project. We work very hard on the location of our projects because we want them to be an answer to changing styles of life and also a contribution to a healthier urbanism and sustainable urban development. So we try to put them close to green spots, on main areas, on main business areas, but also housing areas, and have everything that makes the lifestyle of people who live there, of its inhabitants, increase and improve. So we are with all these projects right now. As I mentioned, we are following very strict safety and biosafety standards, and that is not new for Uribe Schwarzkopf. I mean, for several years, we have been training our workers in the highest standards of biosafety and industrial security. So, I mean, now we are doing it with more strength and with an additional we have to invest for this, but we believe that this needs to be successful so the economy starts reactivating. So the experience of these 3 weeks in the projects of Uribe Schwarzkopf has allowed us to demonstrate that with responsibility and leadership, the economy can be reactivated for the benefit of the community, for the benefit also of those people who have already invested in a property in our projects, and we have to deliver that property, and also for the benefit of thousands of households that depends on the real estate and the construction industries for an income and to keep their homes safe.
Yeah, Camila, I have a question. I don't know if I'm interrupting you, but I have a question for you. I would like to listen for how many years Uribe Schwarzkopf has been working
there. Yes, I was going there.
Let me finish that part of the questions. And what is, as company, what do you think about investing in Ecuador? Remember, we have the inheritance law, like 3-4 years ago, and we had the capital gains law that, I mean, from the business perspective, that could scare any person or could scare a business like, okay, Ecuador is not a friendly business country, but you keep working. And just to finalize, just like, how do you see that? Like you keep working here.
Yes, a ver, Uribe Schwarzkopf is currently the leading architectural planning, design, and construction company in Quito. 3 weeks ago, we were recognized as the most respected company of Ecuador in the construction sector in an evaluation carried out by the Ecuadorian Business Committee, Ecuavisa, that it's a TV local channel, and supervised by PricewaterhouseCoopers. So we are very confident that we are a very good option when you think about investing in property. We have been in the market for 47 years, so we have a history of 47 years and more than 200 projects delivered on time to their owners, to their new owners. So we know that, Ecuador has some some of these different
ups and downs.
Yes, yes. As you mentioned, some regulations that make it harder for international investors or for international investing to come and land in the country. But we have been able to navigate through this. A little bit more than 10% of the buyers of our properties are international buyers. And well, you know, we built in Quito, and this is because Quito, I mean, also means a quality of life for people who buy these properties. I mean, you have great weather, great climate. You have a very strong and dynamic cultural life in Quito. You have the dollar as the current coin. That's important because if you compare it to Peru or Colombia, for example, where their currency gets devaluated, then if you are an international investor and you buy a property there, you will lose. I mean, if the currency is devaluated, you will lose the value of your property. In a dollarized economy, that doesn't happen. So that has also been very important. As you mentioned, Quito has a very good health system. So that's also important for people that, like retirees who have bought properties from our projects. That's important. Also for people, expats who come into Quito. Quito has great schools, a great education system, mostly private schools, but also very public schools that are very, very good public schools. So you have great universities here in Quito. So we believe that the conditions for having a very good quality of life in Quito are there. And we have been working in promoting this. We have been working with different international media. I mean, during the last year, Quito has appeared in about 6 or 7 different publications about its lifestyle, about how it is a good destination for investing in real estate, and how real estate have innovated architecture in Quito, setting new parameters for eco-efficiency, sustainable buildings, and all that kind of stuff. Also, in some few months, Quito will be inaugurating its first metro, its subway, and that will also be very good for the economy of the city, the development of business, and the quality of life of the people who lives here. So we are optimistic about that. 2 weeks ago, Departures, the magazine from American Express that ends in the houses of more than 1 million people, published an article about Quito and Uribe Schwarzkopf as one of the key developers. So we're very confident and very optimistic. We know that we don't want to be unrealistic. We know that now we are going to have to navigate through hard times, but we are optimistic that we will come out stronger and better. And it's not the first time. 47 years of trajectory, we have gone through bad and good times, and we have always been able to innovate. We are very innovative, and we will do it this time again. Just to give you an example, 2 weeks ago, on May 1st, we launched a new project, Canvas Project, a beautiful green eco-efficient building in La República del Salvador neighborhood. That is the one that's one of the most attractive neighborhoods for living and renting, and business as well. And since then, we have more than 12 promises of purchase signed. So we are optimistic. What we see is that there is a demand there for housing. There is a demand for investing in real estate. And what we need to do now is to have good financing plans. And we are working on that. We're working both on our sales strategies, so they can be digital sales strategies right now. And we have been successful with that. And we have also been working in financial plans that can let people pay their entrances for their apartments in several months and in a progressive way. So this has been successful, and we know this may have an additional financial cost for ourselves, but it is we need to sell. So it is important for us, and we are selling, and that means that we will keep reactivating the industry. Also, all of our projects are managed through trusts, that that keeps everything very clear, very transparent, and that guarantees that the properties will be delivered to their owners. So that's also very important.
Thank
we
you.
believe it's a very good real estate.
We're running out of time. I'm sorry. I know we can keep talking, and this always happens that we're our panelists. We can keep talking, but I have to cut you right now. I'm so sorry. We will have a final words at the end, but I would like to continue with 𝐸𝐿𝐸𝐿𝐸𝐻𝐸. He's an economic analyst. He's a professor of economics in the University ULEAM, Universidad Laica Eloy Alfaro. So, Miguel, we would like to hear from you what is, I mean, after reading the law, I know this is still not approved, but it is going in that direction. I cannot see a lot of changes on what it is right now, on the what is written right now, but after we have heard Camila, and I might say 90% positive message. What you can tell us about this new law that is about to come effective? So, Jason, if you can help me.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Miguel, ¿me oye?
Sí, sí, seguro.
Okay. Ya, la pregunta en sí es un poco de sus comentarios sobre las reformas que están proponiendo para combatir las dificultades que estamos experimentando por COVID.
Ya, en primer lugar, quiero mencionar que la participación mía, pues la divido en tres partes. La primera, que tiene que ver con el antes de la crisis de la pandemia. El Ecuador es un país que hace 12, 13 años ha venido sosteniendo un gasto público muy elevado, independientemente de quién haya sido, que haya liderado el gobierno o las finanzas públicas, pues el país tiene una historia ya marcada de haber tenido un gasto público muy elevado, que estaba en correlación con los ingresos petroleros, con los ingresos tributarios, que también crecieron, pero en menor proporción, dejando una época de constante déficit fiscal.
Miguel, le paro por un segundo para traducir, por favor.
Ya, perfecto, perfecto.
Listo, muchísimas gracias. Okay, so Miguel's contribution, he's going to divide into three parts. The first part is keeping in mind that essentially before the pandemic, for the last 12 years, Ecuador has experienced a lot of public spending, which in turn has created a deficit in the economy, which has been difficult for the Ecuadorian government to manage. Continúe, por favor.
En ese sentido hay tres aspectos adicionales. El hecho de que el gobierno no haya podido sostener un gasto público o unas finanzas públicas equilibradas, y por lo tanto ha demostrado que no ha podido manejar la situación financiera del Estado y generando la situación actual que se traduce en la necesidad de recursos frescos.
Okay, so essentially over the course of the last 12 years, Miguel has, in his opinion, he has seen that the government has had a difficult time managing the deficit and finding ways to inject the economy with new money, essentially. So he's not particularly surprised that it's been challenging to deal with some of the consequences of the pandemic that we're currently experiencing.
Entonces, en ese sentido, pues todo este tiempo el Ecuador dejó de hacer algo que es sumamente importante en cualquier país del mundo, que es el tener un ahorro. El país ha ingresado más de 300.000 millones de dólares en los últimos años, de los cuales si tuviéramos en este momento unos 20.000 millones, pues estaríamos tranquilamente, el gobierno pudiera gestionar de mejor manera la crisis sanitaria y los efectos negativos que se están produciendo en todos los sectores.
So essentially, with kind of the vast public spending, public spending in the last decade or so. Ecuador as a country hasn't been able to save as other Western or developed countries tend to do, and has kind of put themselves in a difficult position for the current pandemic.
Adicional a la situación preexistente que acabo de mencionar, pues el país asume en medio de la pandemia, en medio de la crisis sanitaria, la caída de los precios del petróleo, la ruptura del oleoducto de crudos pesados, las limitaciones por la falta de rapidez en que los créditos internacionales para tratar de resolver la situación, y además de eso la paralización de las actividades económicas, que deja como resultado todo un proceso de estancamiento de la economía.
Okay, so essentially what Miguel is saying is that along with the pandemic, which is effectively shut down the economy, there were some additional issues that the Ecuadorian economy had to deal with. The price of oil, which is one of Ecuador's strongest GDP components, has dropped drastically, like many of us know. One of the oil ducts in the Amazon actually broke. One of the pipelines broke. Thus, Ecuador was not able to receive as much crude oil as usual to be able to process barrels of oil. So that has kind of compounded the fact that the economy is also frozen at the moment.
Bien, entonces, economía con déficit fiscal constante. Segundo, mala gestión del gobierno en cuanto al manejo de las finanzas públicas. Y tercero, eventualidades que han ocurrido dejan como saldo que el país requiera recursos frescos, recursos económicos para llevar adelante toda la crisis que se ha presentado. Entonces, pero aquí hay dos alternativas. La primera, que el gobierno necesita recursos rápidos y recursos de mediano y largo plazo.
Okay, so some ways to combat the current issues of an economy that is constantly managing a deficit and the inability to access funds rapidly would be find short-term solutions to fund the economy, whether it be loans from the IMF or different entities, and then look for new resources for long-term solutions to help prop up the Ecuadorian economy.
Entonces, justamente el segundo enfoque de mi presentación se basa en que debido a esa necesidad de recursos rápidos, el gobierno trata de aplicar medidas que les permitan tener recursos para poder solventar diariamente la situación y al mismo tiempo gestionar a través de esas medidas un ahorro en el sector público, es decir, no tener que gastar más de lo que ya está gastando, es decir, disminuir la necesidad de recursos. Entonces nace estas dos leyes que se están por aprobar, pero que en realidad es una práctica que se ha venido dando ya en varias ocasiones, solicitarle al pueblo ecuatoriano que dé su aportación para superar un tiempo de dificultad sin poder gestionar el hecho de que hay una parte de la población que tiene la mayor cantidad de recursos a los cuales, si vemos la parte tributaria, pues no se le ha topado mayormente. Entonces, hay un descontento social que lleva a que la gente sea reacia a volver a contribuir para esta crisis.
Okay, so essentially the humanitarian laws that are being proposed, which in part have the tax that Marcos had mentioned earlier in today's webinar. That is one way that the Ecuadorian government is looking to stimulate the economy on the short term. You know, there are individuals that are in a higher income bracket that will be making these humanitarian contributions to help prop up the lesser fortunate sectors of the economy and society to be able to combat the pandemic.
Sí, en esta línea, pues de acuerdo a los estudios que se han desarrollado, la ley no generaría más allá de $1.000 millones. El país necesita más de $10.000 millones, primero para cubrir el déficit fiscal que se ha venido arrastrando, y segundo, para hacer frente a toda la necesidad de recursos frescos que requiere la economía real. Entonces, en ese sentido, el país tiene varias alternativas. Una de ellas es la eliminación del subsidio, que también genera controversia. Otra es la gestión de nuevos recursos a nivel internacional, que tampoco está funcionando. Y también el aporte que puedan dar aquellos sectores que tienen mayor nivel de ganancia o mayor nivel de patrimonio en la economía, que tampoco está funcionando. Entonces, nos vemos abocados a muchas limitaciones de orden financiero dentro del sector público para no atender ahora y más adelante las necesidades del país.
Okay, so essentially, you know, kind of a stopgap on the short term to help with the Ecuadorian economy. What Miguel mentioned and what professionals are saying is they're looking at $10 million. The humanitarian tax that's being proposed to help kind of bolster different parts of the economy would only generate about $1 billion. So there's definitely more work to be done. One of the things that Miguel mentioned would be eliminating the fuel subsidy for personal vehicles, transportation. And that would also generate some much needed revenue for the economy. So that's something that we may see happen in the near future. That's something being talked about currently. So there are a few ideas in place now and definitely more work to be done.
Y para finalizar, pues la tercera parte de mi exposición se enfoca a los retos que tiene el país. El primer reto es tratar de controlar la pandemia como tal. Va a ser muy difícil porque la gente, la población necesita recursos también. Ya son muchas semanas que llevamos confinados y hay mucha gente que no tiene cómo solventar su parte económica, tanto familiar como empresarial. Hay muchos retos en esa línea. El Estado necesita recursos, no los tiene. Entonces vamos a ver cómo salimos de esta primera parte. El segundo gran reto es la crisis social. Mucha gente sin empleo, mucha gente buscando desesperadamente encontrar este recurso. Ecuador es una economía que tiene mucho sector informal. La gente desesperada va a empezar a salir. Entonces, en esa línea, pues el reto de esta parte social va a ser muy, muy complicado, porque si el gobierno tuviera dinero, como insisto, podría gestionar recursos hacia estos sectores a tal punto que puedan satisfacer sus necesidades y colaborar de mejor manera para el control de la pandemia.
Okay, so in conclusion, what Miguel would like to end with are three different challenges that Ecuador as a country will face concerning the economy and the pandemic. And one of the challenges obviously is controlling the pandemic within our national borders. You know, it's very difficult. It's a very complex situation that requires you know, participation from all of society on many levels. So it's in and of itself is quite a challenge. The second challenge is the social crisis. A lot of Ecuadorians and Ecuador's economy is informal. It's day-to-day, almost off the books, you could say, an economy that requires people to go out and interchange goods and you know, be in contact with each other, which is unfortunately the last thing we can do currently while we're all being confined. So the social crisis that will arise to the lack of this informal economy that's being able to be conducted right now is also an issue. If the government had money to inject into social programs, I think that we could do a better job with the social crisis. But unfortunately, the Ecuadorian government is lacking money. There were 2 payments of $60 a month for the less fortunate factions of our society. But as far as I understood from Miguel, that's all that has been received so far. ¿Y la tercera?
La tercera es la parte de la actividad económica, o sea, reactivar la actividad productiva. La crisis económica que se traduce en la problemática que tienen todos los sectores productivos. Y no solamente son las empresas, sino que son también las personas que trabajan por cuenta propia. Es decir, cómo lograr reactivar cada una de las actividades económicas. Una, porque no se puede de buenas a primeras abrir totalmente las actividades, como se está tratando de implementar, que se hagan de forma escalonada. Y la otra es porque en el mediano y largo plazo, las empresas y las personas que hacen actividad económica requieren de recursos frescos. Los recursos frescos están en el sistema financiero, que tiene dificultades también para poder colocar créditos, y sobremanera en el Estado. En muchos países el Estado es el que ha salido a rescatar la economía. En el Ecuador es la economía la que está tratando de rescatar al Estado. Esa es la idea que me queda a mí en toda esta situación de todo este tiempo que el país está viviendo, es que el Estado está pretendiendo que los ciudadanos, que las empresas lo salven al Estado. Contrario a otros países donde el Estado es el que está salvando a las empresas, está salvando a la ciudadanía. Tal es el caso, por ejemplo, escuchaba ayer en un noticiero internacional que en Colombia la empresa Avianca está quebrando y no hay nadie que la pueda rescatar, y se prevé que sea el Estado el que vaya a intervenir a la empresa y logre salvarla, porque es un punto importante para ese sector económico de ese país. Entonces, en cambio, acá en el Ecuador, el Estado es el que nos está pidiendo a todos nosotros que salgamos a rescatar la economía. Yo creo que ahí hay mucho que pensar, y la reactivación económica va a ir justamente por eso. ¿Quién salva a quién? Entonces, eso es lo importante, y la pregunta que queda suelta en el ambiente de aquí hacia unos meses, ¿cierto? Porque las actividades se van a ir reactivando, el consumo está muy deprimido porque la gente no tiene recursos. Si el país tuviera recursos y pudiera enviar esos recursos vía transferencia de parte del Estado, yo creo que la situación sería un poco distinta en el mediano y largo plazo. Entonces, con esto terminaría mi exposición.
Okay, so the third challenge that Ecuador is facing, essentially, and it could be the most costly, the most dramatic moving forward, is that what many countries are doing is the state is bailing out the economy of individual nations. Miguel gave the example of Avianca, which is a Colombian airline which declared bankruptcy, and the Colombian government is looking at ways to bail out Avianca. So essentially the state is bailing out the economy in that example. Whereas in Ecuador, what we've seen so far and what Miguel was commenting on is that the state, the government, in effect, is waiting for the economy to bail out the country. Now, that in and of itself provides a lot of issues, because the reactivation of the economy is going to be scaled. You know, we're all aware of that. It's very necessary. So it's going to be a difficult process to reactivate the economy, and asking your citizens to basically prop up your country, which in effect is what Miguel is saying Ecuador is asking to do, is going to be very challenging, and it's going to be a lengthy process.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, Jason. Jason, I would like to go with some of the questions that we might have from our attendees. Could you please help us with that? Maybe we just go with 2 or 3. I know I can see more questions, but for respect to our panelists, we don't have that much of time.
Yeah, sure. Let's go back to Camila. Camila, can you hear me?
There.
Great. Okay, so could you speak a little bit more in depth about the making the process of purchasing a property and the transactions and electronic process? I know there are some concerns about internet security in Ecuador. Actually, most countries, I think it's a global concern. But have you heard about some of the measures that will be taken to improve internet security if, for example, transfer titles are being done online, electronic signatures, sensitive data is being transferred online in regards to properties? Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, I'm not aware of I mean, I have heard and I have read and I have heard from APIBE, that it's the Association of Real Estate Developers here in Ecuador. They have also presented some alternatives and have asked for this security, because the solution is very important. I mean, the chance of doing digital contracts and using the digital signature, it's I mean, right now we don't have some other options, so it's the option right now, and we have to step into that. And of course, we will need to have important security, digital security or electronic security measures. I don't know how the public sector is going to implement it. I mean, I'm not aware of that. But in the past, I heard, for example, that, some cities like Quito or Guayaquil were thinking about blockchains. Well, I don't know if they are already thinking about that, but the technology is there. And as you mentioned, it is a concern worldwide, this kind of security, but the technologies are there. And I'm sure that this will be implemented as well.
Great, thank you so much. Marcos, next question. I'm going to go.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, la siguiente pregunta es para ti, Miguel. ¿Sí me oyes?
Okay. Sí, sí.
Okay, primero la voy a hacer en inglés, después español, y usted me comenta y ya.
Okay.
So the question that I have for Miguel is about the removal of the fuel subsidies. Now, in recent history, back in October, that was proposed and there was a lot of civil unrest. So my question for Miguel is if he foresees the same sort of pushback at the societal level if the Ecuadorian government decides to remove the fuel subsidies again. Ok, la pregunta que tengo es la siguiente. Lo de los subsidios, ya hemos vivido esa experiencia y hubo bastante oposición, la gente salió a las calles, protestaron a nivel de la sociedad, mucha gente descontenta. Si vuelven a empezar a conversar de quitar el subsidio, ¿usted piensa que eso volvería a pensar en tiempos de COVID? ¿Y cómo, en su opinión, sería una protesta en los tiempos que estamos viviendo ahora?
Bien, mencionaba hace un momento que la población siente un descontento porque la gestión pública no ha sido la más óptima. Y se nota muy claramente en todo el sistema económico que son pocos los beneficiados por las ganancias, por la actividad económica, por los ingresos. Hay un alto nivel de desigualdad de ingresos en el Ecuador, cercano al 0.45 de Gini, y no acepta que haya una eliminación de subsidio, porque en definitiva nos saca de una situación de confort. Es decir, toda la población lleva décadas acostumbrada al subsidio. Entonces, sincerar la economía, que es algo que siempre se ha estado hablando, no se puede lograr mientras haya, primero, un descontento de la ciudadanía que no acepta que le quiten eso, mientras otros se están beneficiando de otras situaciones de la misma economía.
Okay, so essentially, Miguel's response is the following. There is quite a bit of economic inequality here in Ecuador. So, and the fuel subsidy has been around for decades and decades and decades. So unless, essentially, unless the economic inequality is, we find a way to combat it, we find a way to level the playing field, essentially create more opportunities, open up more jobs, entrepreneurial opportunities for people, then there's always going to be a pushback if the fuel subsidy is removed. So I'm going to ask him a question in Spanish real quick. ¿Y usted cree que que habrán protestas en tiempos de COVID?
Indudablemente que sí, ya las noticias indican que el sector, de manera especial el sector indígena, ha amenazado, digamos, entre comillas, con que si se hace o se toma la medida, pues van a retomar la protesta. Y yo creo que en ese sentido es un sector que está bastante organizado, que tiene, digamos, un liderazgo al interno de todos quienes forman parte de este sector social que cuando lo ha dicho, lo ha cumplido. Entonces, me parece a mí que en cierta forma sería un riesgo bastante grande para el país porque el virus no mira situaciones, el virus no mira aspectos de que si te peleas tú o se pelea el otro, lo que hace es atacar y en la medida en que haya menos aislamiento social, menos distanciamiento entre las personas, se convierte en un foco donde se puede haber muchas infecciones que vayan a dañar todo el proceso que el país ha seguido aquí. Realmente se tiene que encontrar un punto de equilibrio y a mí, desde mi punto de vista, el gobierno no debería de pensar en esta alternativa en estas condiciones.
Okay, so essentially I asked him if Miguel would, if he thought that they would be protesting if the fuel subsidy was removed during the pandemic, and he said yes, definitively yes. The large proprietor of the protests, the previous protests, were indigenous groups, and they have in effect made threats, comments that they would potentially take to the streets and protest again if the subsidy was removed. So Miguel thinks that, of course, during the pandemic, this would not be the best course of action for the Ecuadorian government to remove the fuel subsidy during COVID.
Okay, I think we should go with the very last questions because it has surprised me a lot that we have a lot of questions. So Jason, can you please go ahead? And I think we have a question from capital gains, or can you see that?
No. Oh, yes. You want me to go?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Could the panel elaborate a little bit about inheritance and capital gains laws, and if that is applicable for some of the humanitarian taxes that we discussed?
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm going to take it like super quick on this explanation here. I just received a message of one of our clients. But basically, inheritance law, according to the Ecuadorian regulations, it is like we have a special procedure on that. But basically, the inheritance laws, the first beneficiaries are the kids. If no kids, then the parents. No kids, no parents, then the spouse. And then it will continue to the rest of relatives. And regarding the capital gains, as it is right now, it is the 10% of the difference between the purchase price and the sales price. For example, if you buy something for 100,000 and you sell it for 110, your profit, it is $10,000. So the capital gains is the 10% of those $10,000, which is $1,000. So, and then it will be applied any deducts on that. For example, 5% per year of how many years you own the property. So if you own the property for example, 10 years, your discount 5%, it will be $500. So each situation, it depends on what is the specific relationship in the contract. And also I have to mention that if we have some developers here, when you are building a new property, you don't have to pay capital gains. You only will have to pay capital gains on the lot, on the property, not on the building. So for example, if you purchase something for a lot for 100,000, and then you build five apartments, and each apartment costs $100,000 each. So whenever you're going to sell the new construction, you don't have to pay capital gains on the construction. You will have to pay capital gains on what was the purchase price of the lot and what is the current price on the lot. So on that difference, you will have to pay 10% on that. So that's very clear in the law. I know some municipalities, they don't apply that, but I can see some developers among our attendees. So whenever you are building and whenever you are going to sell new property, you don't have to pay basically capital gains on the new construction. So with this, I would like to finalize this. I know Camila and Miguel, they're very busy, and Jason too. So I would like to have some last words from Camila because I interrupted you abruptly before. So I would like to have some final words. Remember that our attendees, they're the expat community living, and they have trusted Ecuador as their investment country.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity again. What I can say, like the last words, is we believe it's a good time to invest in real estate. It may not look like it, we believe it is. When there is uncertainty in the global market, as we have seen it in the last weeks, investing in real estate is the safest investment, and it is an investment that increases its value on time. We believe that after the experience of the pandemic, people will start to seek to acquire a property, to acquire a place to live, and places that allows them to enjoy of different comforts very close to them. And that's what Uribe Schwarzkopf projects offer. Our buildings are marked by innovation, by creativity, and we offer generous communal environments that improve the quality of life of the people who inhabit our buildings. And we have ventured to take Quito to the forefront of the world cities. So we have started working, and we have been working the last 5 or 6 years with international design and architecture studios like Arquitectónica from Miami, 𝐸 from London, Marcel Wanders from Amsterdam, Philippe Stark from Paris, Moshe Safdie from Canada and Israel, Carlos Zapata, 𝐩𝐞𝐫𝐬𝐳 from France, BIC from Denmark. So that's what we are guaranteeing in our properties, and that's why we believe it is a good investment right now to invest in our properties, because they offer a lifestyle that not every property offers. So that's, our company has long been involved in supporting development in Quito, and we will continue doing it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much again for all the attendees. We're going to have on next Thursday another event, which we're going to be sending you an email with invitation. Jason, thank you again for your time. You're our special, moderator. So thank you, Miguel, for your words and your honesty about the economic situation in Ecuador. And thank you so much, Camila, for bringing us some light at the end of the tunnel of this pandemic. Well, see you, and thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.